Welcome to episode 3. We move into the final section of Isaiah chapter 1, verses 21 through 31. Here Isaiah describes the harlotry of the city, a severe and painful metaphor for what happens when a collective consciousness loses its center and begins to sell its light for the shadows of the camouflage world. Before we begin, a clear disclaimer. This presentation is a metaphysical and psychological inquiry that uses certain concepts associated with the Seth Speaks material by Jane Roberts as a conceptual lens. It is not a replacement for scripture, doctrine, or personal faith. The Bible is honored here as sacred text. Our purpose is educational and philosophical, to examine how prophetic experience may operate through awareness, symbolism, moral perception, and the structure of human meaning. Isaiah opens this section with a cry of shock. He asks how the faithful city has become a harlot. He remembers what it once was, a place where justice lived and righteousness lodged. And then he says, what it has become, a place where violence and moral collapse now dwell. In biblical terms, this is covenant language. Israel was not merely a political entity, it was called into a moral relationship with God. So when Isaiah uses the word harlot, he is exposing spiritual betrayal, a people once devoted to truth, now selling their allegiance to idols, bribes, and power. It is not merely sexual imagery, it is the imagery of loyalty lost. It is the language of a marriage broken at its core. Through a psychological lens, the city becomes a mirror of the inner life. A society is not only buildings and roads, it is a shared mental construction, built from beliefs, habits, fears, incentives, and stories. When Isaiah says the city has become a harlot, he is describing a loss of central focus. The people are no longer anchored to their highest moral center. They are now oriented toward whatever pays, whatever flatters, whatever calms anxiety, whatever wins the day, even if it ruins the soul. If we borrow Sethian metaphors carefully, the city is like a beam of attention that has lost its alignment with the source. It still shines, but it shines sideways. It still has energy, but it spends that energy on the wrong objects. And this is how a faithful city collapses, not by losing all intelligence, but by losing loyalty to what is true. Then Isaiah gives two images that are both simple and surgical. He says the silver has become dross, and the wine has been mixed with water. This is not poetry for decoration. This is a diagnostic report. Silver represents value, purity, and tested worth. Dross is what remains when metal is corrupted, what looks like substance but fails under refinement. In the language of the soul, silver can represent the purity of intent. When intent is clean, actions carry weight. When intent is corrupted, actions become performance, manipulation, or self-protection. The outer form may still look impressive, but the inner quality has degraded. Wine, in scripture, often represents vitality, joy, and strength. When it is diluted, it loses its potency. Isaiah is saying the life force of the people has been watered down by compromise. They are no longer whole. They are no longer strong in their moral essence. They are mixtures. They are half-truths. They are diluted commitments. They are a culture that cannot hold its own weight. This is not just theology. It is also an observable pattern in human systems. When values become negotiable, trust collapses. When trust collapses, institutions rot from the inside. When institutions rot, the vulnerable are the first to suffer because they have the least protection and the least voice. Isaiah then turns his attention to leadership. He says the princes are rebellious, companions of thieves, lovers of bribes, and that they do not defend the fatherless, nor does the cause of the widow come before them. This is the clearest evidence of the center collapsing. Empathy disappears. The moral compass breaks. Power becomes a private asset rather than a public responsibility. In psychological terms, when a person or a group disconnects from conscience, the ego becomes predatory. It begins to treat other lives as objects, numbers, obstacles, or opportunities. It begins to justify harm with clever language. It begins to reward loyalty to the tribe over loyalty to truth. And that is the spiritual tragedy Isaiah exposes. The leaders are no longer serving the whole. They are serving the part, the local ego, the immediate gain. In scripture, defending the widow and the fatherless is not a side theme. It is a central measure of righteousness. It is the proof that worship has reached the real world. When the vulnerable are neglected, it is not only a social failure, it is a spiritual failure, because the community has rejected the moral character of God. Then Isaiah introduces the next movement, Divine response. God speaks as the Lord of hosts and declares that he will act. He will turn his hand against corruption, purge away dross, remove alloy, and restore judges, as at the beginning. Afterward, the city will again be called the city of righteousness, the faithful city. This is where we must be both reverent and precise. Traditional theology calls this judgment. But judgment in Isaiah is not chaos. It is not random anger. It is a corrective action rooted in holiness. God does not judge because he enjoys destruction. God judges because he refuses to call poison medicine. God judges because love that never confronts evil is not love. It is surrender. If we use a scientific metaphor, judgment resembles refinement. When metal is heated, what is false rises to the surface, and what is true remains. But we must keep the hierarchy clear. God is not a physical process. The refining image is a way for the prophet to teach that moral reality has consequences, and that God will not allow corruption to define the final story. Here is the key insight. The fire is not merely punishment, it is purification. It is the removal of what destroys the community, so that what can heal the community may remain. When Isaiah describes purging away dross, he is describing the mercy of restoration, even if the path is painful. And then, Isaiah returns to nature again, because nature is honest. He speaks of oaks that people desired, and gardens that people trusted, and then says they will be ashamed. They will become like an oak whose leaf fades, and like a garden without water. The theological meaning is direct. The people sought power in false sources. They sought security in idols. They trusted what could not sustain them. And Isaiah says that these substitutes will fail, because substitutes always fail under pressure. Psychologically, this is the collapse of coping mechanisms. When a person builds identity on external approval, money, domination, or image, that identity becomes fragile. It may look strong in a stable season, but it withers in drought. It has no deep root. It has no inner water. Spiritually, the water is not fantasy. It represents connection to God, to truth, and to the life of the Spirit that sustains integrity. A garden without water may still have structure, but it has no life. It becomes dust. And Isaiah is warning, if you disconnect from the source, the form will remain for a while, but the life will leave. Finally, Isaiah closes with a severe image. The strong will become like tow, and his work like a spark, and both will burn together, and no one will quench it. Tow is dry, flammable fiber. A spark falls, and everything ignites. This is a moral physics lesson, but again, not to reduce God to mechanics. Isaiah is teaching that a life built from flammable materials will eventually burn. If you build your power from lies, greed, and exploitation, you have built on fuel. Eventually, your own works become the spark, not because God is absent, but because God's world is morally structured. Corruption carries within it the seed of its own collapse. In Sethian metaphor, one might say that a consciousness out of alignment generates its own torment. In biblical language, one would say sin destroys. And Isaiah's point is that destruction is not always an external attack. Often, it is the internal consequence of building a life opposed to truth. So what have we learned in Isaiah chapter 1, verses 21 through 31? First, identity is loyalty. A faithful city is faithful because it is loyal to truth. A corrupt city is corrupt because it sells that loyalty. Second, dilution is weakness. When silver becomes dross and wine becomes water, the outer appearance may remain, but inner strength collapses. Third, the collapse of the center reveals itself through injustice. When leaders love bribes and neglect the widow and the orphan, the soul of the community is exposed. Fourth, refinement is not cruelty. Divine judgment in Isaiah is the fire that removes alloy so that what is true can be restored. Fifth, false sources cannot sustain life. Oaks fade. Gardens dry up. Anything disconnected from the living source eventually withers. And finally, a life built from flammable materials burns. The strong becomes tow, the work becomes spark, and the structure collapses from the inside out. Now take this personally, because Isaiah does not speak only to nations. He speaks to hearts. Ask yourself, where has your center shifted? What have you been tempted to sell your integrity, your attention, your compassion for a short-term reward? Where has your silver been diluted? Where has your wine been watered down? And if the fire of refinement came, what would it remove? And what would it reveal? We have now completed chapter 1. The diagnosis has been delivered. The split, the ritual without intent, the collapse of the center, and the promise of refinement. In the next episode, we enter chapter 2, where Isaiah lifts our eyes to a different horizon, the vision of the mountain of the Lord. We move from the sick body to the high mountain of the future. If this work helps you think clearly, live honestly, and stay aligned, support it. Like the video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and keep your silver pure. Find your beam.